Now, with the location decided, then we can move on to look into the raw data. So we're going to add a program here, and we're going to call it, go back and right click and select the property, and we're going to call it check data. Close. Okay, I'm going to put it here. So in this check data, in the beginning, we're going to add a comment here. Again, checking data. So how to check data? There is a procedure called the dataset. So it's proc dataset. Okay, and run. Oh, by the way, so this is my way of writing the code. So usually I'm gonna put the code in a bunch of lines together as a block. So I always have a beginning line, right? And then the ending line, right? And in between I'm gonna put line 2, line 3 with indentation. So that way it will be easily being identified as a block. That's my way. So in this proc data set, I'm going to have a statement called contents. So basically this is to check out the contents of a data. So the data is in the library of S, and the name is raw hosp, and that's it. Okay, so you can see that actually it doesn't matter if it is in uppercase or lowercase, or it is a mixed. It doesn't matter. It's the same for this statement, for this, and also for the names. Okay, so let's run this. And this is basically to check the data sets and pay attention to this table, for example. So it tells the name of the data set, which is in s.ace.s stands for the library, and this is the name, this is raw hospital. So it also contains my operation system and like when this data was created and when it was last modified. Yeah. And also it contains like how many variables we have in this data set and how many number of observations or rows in this data set. And scroll down, like in this table, you can find the location. So this part, like folders, my folders, source, this is exactly the same as what we put in that library code, right? And this is the SAS version and some other stuff. All right. The next one is about all the variables that are in this data sets. So if you scroll down, you can see that for the variable types, there are only two types. One is called a number, the other is character. Actually, in SAS, it's very straightforward. There are only two types. Or you may ask, what about dates? Dates are actually values in date or datetime format. We're going to talk about that later. So otherwise, these are characters. Yeah. Okay, so these are basically the things to that you want to know about the data set, right? So like where is it? What is the name? How large is it? This is the size of the file. What variables you have in this data set, stuff like that. Okay, so let's go back to the code. So this is for checking the data set. You will use that for a lot of time. So you might notice that once I run this, and this time instead of switching to the log, it's going to switch to the results. And this is because this Proc dataset is going to create the results. And this window is called results. And now at least you've seen three different windows. One is the code, which is the program window. One is the log. It's going to tell you if it is wrong, if there is any errors, stuff like that, or any warnings. And this is the result one. These are the frequently used windows you might have in SAS. All right. So the next one I'm going to introduce is called the Proc print. So the above one is to know the overall situation of the data set, like its size, its variables. And this one is gonna show you how the data table looks like. So the syntax is like this. You have proc print, data is s dot raw hospital, and I'm gonna put in OBS equals to 10. So remember that in the previous procedure, we've already seen that there are 2004 observations or rows in that data table. So by default, if you say I'm going to print this data, it is going to print all of the 2000 rows, which is a big table, right? But actually, that doesn't make sense because we only want to see a sample, a few rows of that to have a sense of how the data looks like. So in that case, we can specify to say that we only want to see the observation 1 to 10. And this is how you're going to say it. Basically here, OBS means the last OBS or observation. All right, so let's run it. Yeah, so this is how the dataset looks like. It has a column for the patient ID, which we call the key HSN, and then sex, then the year of birth and the month of birth. We don't have for privacy protection, usually we don't have the day of birth, so we have to have a best guess of that. And then there is a record. Usually this is called the car hire record. This is a record to indicate a distinct role, a distinct record from the hospital. So it's just an ID, all right? So this one we can ignore it. This is the ID of the hospital, right? So this is the date of the admission, the discharge, the date of discharge, and these are a bunch of diagnosis codes. All right, so this is how this proc print is gonna tell us. Okay, so these are for checking the data sets. By the way, so all of the things and the remaining stuff that I'm gonna introduce for this base SAS training will be in will all be in this book called the Little SAS book. It is a very famous book. Probably you guys have heard about this book. This is a great book. It's very easy to understand. It covers comprehensive stuff of that. So if you Google that, you will find examples like this one. I guess is from the SAS official website. It contains the table of contents in the first chapter. right? So if you want to buy that, you can go to Amazon.ca. If you want to borrow that, it is very much possible that you can borrow it from the university library. Okay, so that would be the part for this video. I'm gonna stop here.